Welcome to Bike Builds with AC. Today, I'm gonna show you how to get semi-pro results using spray paint for under 50 bucks. So let's get started. The process of painting is definitely one that preparation is far more important than the painting part because it's a direct result of what you finish up. And I thought about doing Cerakote, I thought about doing powder coat on the frame, but to keep it in-house here, I don't have an oven big enough to do that. What works great? Paint. You can get professional-like results out of a rattle can. It's just a matter of how much preparation you're willing to do, and then spending a little bit more on the products really makes a difference. You need to prep just like a professional painter would be. You need to eliminate absolutely as much possible paint as you can if you're starting from bare metal, or if you're starting from a situation where there's already a good base coat primer on it, you need to remove all the clear coat from the previous paint job. For the steel frame, because it's bare metal, I'll be using an etching primer first. And for the headlight bucket, I will be using just a normal sandable filler primer. I will use these on both, but on the metal application, I will start with this. An etching primer has a little bit of acid in it, so on raw metals, what it does is it has a quick reaction that basically gives excellent adhesion. Cleanliness is everything. Wash your hands really good before you start this job. Possibly even use some aggressive soap and or degreaser, because even though you'll wear gloves for some part of it, it's good to eliminate as much oil and grease as you possibly can in the project as a whole. After you finish sanding and doing all the body work, because there's a certain point when you do the body work, you can't go backwards, so get all that done before you start painting. You need to clean up everything to remove all oil and all grease, because it can create bubbles, fisheye, all kinds of issues. Acetone works excellent for that. The only difference for me is I put it in this so I can spray it. You don't have to use this spray bottle, but a spray bottle really helps just get it everywhere and wipe it all down. From after the acetone point, I'll double check everything and just make sure that I got all the paint or all the clear coat off that I want to in the sections that I'm about to paint. Tack cloth is crucial. It's one of those things that you should make a habit between every process. The thing about it is it carries no lint. Wiping it down helps with dust, helps with different lint and fibers that you might have in the project. So between every single process, you're gonna tack first. So when you're ready to spray, the one thing you wanna make sure is that all of your equipment is out, ready, and available. So when painting, heat is your friend, but sometimes sunlight makes the paint flash too fast. So if you got a little shade that you can set up that's not a tree where it's gonna be dropping things onto what you're specifically trying to paint, I recommend that. Right now, it's about 95 degrees outside, so if anything, we're gonna be drying super fast. Basically, you wanna hang it somewhere where you have a good even eye level of what you're painting, but not too tall that you can't get on top of it, and not too low where you can't get underneath it. So the thing about laying down a primer like this is you want to overlap about 50%, and we're just trying to make a light coat to cover up all the bare metal. So if you were to imagine yourself like a robot would paint, that's how you should paint. So the one thing, tack cloth between every coat, what it does is think about just mows the grass a little bit. There's little flyaways and things that find their way inevitably in paint. And what this does is it helps them pull out and keep a fresh, clean surface between each coat. Now that I have the etching primer on, I'm ready to do my base primer, because you can't paint color. You can't paint your base coat right over the etching primer. Gonna go from black to gray, and then gray to the Garage 93 gray. So excited for that, but excited to get the primer coat on here so that I can get to wet sanding this evening. So successfully laid down the etching primer, got 2 coats of high build primer on here, and now it's time to do some wet sanding. Basically, wet sanding is just mowing the grass. You're evening out the peaks and valleys that you have left from the primer to leave a nice, smooth surface before you start laying your color coat. So this is the part when all the hard work finally starts to pay off. Where we left off, I had just finished up wet sanding, and the frame is now sat for an entire day. There's a lot of information out there on how long you should let it sit, or even if you need to. I like to let it sit at least for 24 hours. Everything is smooth, clean, and prepped. I'm about to give it one last tack cloth and lay the base color. We're going with smoke gray. I'm really excited. It's almost spot on to the paint swatches that I have for my freestyle bikes and the rest of my program. And just excited to watch this thing gloss up. Clear's laid. I couldn't be much more excited. It looks absolutely awesome. I doubt I'll even have to wet sand it. I'll maybe just polish it a little because I love it, because it just looks amazing at this point. That's the last step. I'd call that a semi-pro rattle can job. There's some room for improvement, but there's a whole lot of room for doing worse. And I'm happy with this, and I would have paid a body shop to do this job right here and was able to do it for less than 50 bucks in materials. So excited to put this thing inside, crank up the heat a little bit to help it cure, and call it a night.